From the top of the wall, Wallace Hall, it's Proud Fighting Scots Radio, WPFS, FM 105.9, Monmouth.
You're listening to WPFS, Proud Fighting Scots Radio 105.9, Monmouth. You've tuned in to Wall to Wall Politics, and I'm your host, Brody Anderson. Thank you for tuning in on this beautiful Sunday afternoon. So we have a special show today for everyone. We are having the last Libertarian Gubernatorial debate live right here on Wall to Wall Politics. So, without further ado, we have Kash-Jackson, we have Jon-Stewart, Claire Ball's helping me moderate, who's running for Illinois comptroller. Matthew-c-Scaro was invited, but he chose not to attend at the last minute. But no big deal. We're still going to have a great show today. So, Kash-Jackson, how are you?
I'm doing quite well. Thank you, Brody.
Yep. John, how are you?
I'm doing well. Hi, Cash. Hi, everybody. Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure.
So let's just start with opening remarks. So go ahead, Cash.
Well, my name's Kash-Jackson. I'm a retired Navy veteran. I did my 20 years of military service and just recently retired in 2016. Right now I'm a stay-at-home dad, political activist, and a gubernatorial candidate for the Libertarian Party here in Illinois. Some of my hobbies and interests are I'm an avid outdoorsman. I like bow hunting. I like to bass fish and pretty much anything outdoors. I did a little amateur competing in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu as well. Competed in the Pan Ams down in California and got a bronze medal down there a few years back. I never told John about that, but I figured since we were talking about gladiators recently, I'd bring it up. I'm new to politics and I'm fairly new to the Libertarian Party. This is my first political run, and I've been campaigning now for about a year. Have enjoyed it tremendously. Came to the Libertarian Party in 2016 as well, and I kind of crossed over to the Libertarian Party because I realized that kind of the Republican platform didn't fit my ideals and my political philosophies any longer. And whenever I saw things where the government was kind of interfering in things like marriage and incarcerating people for victimless crimes such as possession of cannabis, I really realized that this isn't where I need to be. This doesn't represent, I believe, me or the majority of Americans today. And so I made a choice to seek out something different. And I went to a Libertarian chapter meeting up in Kitsap County. Coincidentally, it was their very first one. But listening to those men and women, I realized that, you know what, I have a lot more in common with this party and their platform than what I ever knew. And so now I make it a point that I educate others about what a libertarian is. And I'm just really proud to be running as a gubernatorial candidate today. I've got some great competition in Jon-Stewart and Matthew-c-Scaro. Both of these guys are they're great politicians in their own right. Both of them are very intelligent men and hard workers, and so it's an honor to compete against them and to vie for the nomination of the party.
Thank you, Cash.
Thank you.
John?
Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jon-Stewart, 51 years old. I'm a former professional wrestler. My biggest stint as a wrestler was with the AWA on ESPN. I had a little laugh there because if you watch my videos on YouTube, you might not go to sleep for 4 days. But thank God Cash hasn't put out any of my pictures with the boa robe and the sequins on. Currently, since 1995, since my full-time wrestling career ended, I've been the managing operator for my father's used car independent car dealership on the far northwest side of Chicago. Been in the same corner, same location for over 35 years. My father is kind of an icon in the far northwest side of Chicago, and I'm very proud of that. And I've spoke often of the DNA that I have from owning a small business, especially a used car dealership, and to have a Better Business Bureau A+ rating. I don't say that to impress anybody. I say that to impress upon that I have grown up, and I want people to know this, that I've grown up with integrity, and serving the people and serving the public. And I think that is two things you need as a legislature and as a politician. And I'm very grateful that I've had my father and mother teach me and show me what honor and is and integrity, and still be able to make a profit and still keep people happy. I think that's really important. Again, I think that's a defining factor in my political DNA. Been a politician for 25 years. First ran on announced my candidacy for state rep on a cold November night on Thanksgiving Eve. The night I also met my wife, who was, I did not know she was going to be my wife, but I find that ironic that that was also the night that I met someone who would later become my wife of 20 years, and we have 3 beautiful children. Like I said, I've been a politician for 25 years, formerly as a Republican. I ran for state rep in Congress twice. Both of my congressional campaigns were covered by the national media, including the New York Times and Fox News nationally, like the O'Reilly Factor and Hannity Combs. And again, another thing that I say, not to impress someone, but to impress upon people, that I think that, and I think even Matt and Cash would agree with this, none of us are millionaires. We don't have millions of dollars to put into the race. And one of the things that I think, and this is just my opinion after 25 years, is a good shot, not impossible, not the only way. I want to make that clear to Cash, who's sitting across from me. But my way, what I bring to the table is I just think that, and I'm betting on and hooking my wagon to the fact that my media coverage has, can propel us to getting 5%. I've been talked a year about, legalizing marijuana, deregulation of small businesses, and the 800-pound gorilla in the room. The only issue we should be talking about as far as the budget, which is the pension problem. And I've said ways that we need to fix that. And I'm sure we'll talk about it today. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, John. All right, so let's dive into some issues. For this segment, we're going to be doing, you have 3 minutes to answer the question, and then if need be, you can have a 1-minute rebuttal. So, with that being said.
And I'm not afraid to jump in and just tell you guys to be quiet. So
and beat us with a rubber hose.
Yeah. Claire's vicious, right? Anyway, so nationwide, a lot of people agree that there is a major drug problem. Jeff Sessions calls it the opioid crisis. That's what the term is now. So, how will you help solve the war on drugs here in the state? Go ahead, Cash.
Well, number one, we have to be intelligent enough to analyze the past several decades in this war on drugs and really ask ourselves, have we curbed it at all? Have we protected our society the way that we envision that we would? And if we haven't, what can we do about it? And my personal opinion is no, we haven't. The war on drugs has been a failed policy since it's been implemented. It's cost us countless lives in police officers and in citizens. It has cost hundreds of thousands, if not millions of children to grow up in a single parent home because many of their fathers and mothers have been incarcerated for essentially what I would describe as a victimless crime, where the only harm that occurred, if any harm at all, was to the individual that was either consuming and or selling that product. And it really made me reconsider, again, whenever I was a conservative or as a Republican, I really had to take a hard look at that and say, has this been beneficial to society? We have poured billions and billions of dollars into this war on drugs. And I think we've just taken the wrong approach. I think that a common denominator amongst those who partake in drugs oftentimes can be attributed to mental health. It can be attributed to their economic position in life. It could be attributed to a number of things. But looking at the war on drugs, similar to whenever prohibition on alcohol occurred, it didn't work. People still did it. And as a result, what we ended up producing was a black market. And inside that black market was substances that oftentimes they're not as safe. They're not as regulated, if you will. And I don't believe in some sort of extreme regulation. But what I do believe in is that war on drugs has not worked. We have approximately 40,000 people incarcerated in Illinois right now, to the tune of approximately $40,000 a year to keep those individuals incarcerated. So not only do we have a fiscal position here, we also have a moral position. And so fiscally, we have to ask ourselves, since we haven't curbed the use of drugs, recidivism rate remains at approximately 1 in 2 will reoffend upon release within the first, I believe, 12 months. And so they're going to be right back where they came from. So fiscally, it doesn't make sense. And as a state that's broke, we have to address that. It doesn't make a moral sense, because we're taking parents who aren't really committing a crime against an individual and taking them from their kids. So these are two aspects that I'd really just like to take a harder look at. Thank you.
Thank you, Cash. John.
I first wanted to compliment Cash. It's very important to me that if we are going to grow the Libertarian Party locally here and nationally, that there be a modicum of compassion in our platform. I don't believe bodies laying on the ground all around us, metaphorically and literally, is going to grow our party, is going to make a Republican, single mom from DuPage County come over to our party. And I say the same thing about the Democrats. So I just want to always compliment Cash, because throughout the year I have constantly heard compassion in your platform, and I really appreciate that, because that's what I believe too, regardless of what some people might think of Cash or I or that stance. I just wanted to be clear on that, because part of me running for governor is growing this party, which I think that I've tried to do. The first person that I hired for my campaign, her name is Jamie Smith. I've talked about her extensively in this campaign. She is one of the leading advocates on opioid abuse. She was a mom, successful husband, 4 kids in Champaign, and hooked up with a mother's group who were pill swappers and prescription pill takers. And a year later, she's living in Chicago with a drug dealer. It's a true story. And bounced back and came back and kept her family intact, and she is just a beautiful human being. Talking to her for 5 seconds would blow your hair off your head if you have any, like I don't. The stories and that she tells you, and the problem is, this. Look, a lot of kids, why it's so prevalent in central Illinois: boredom, nothing to do. So it's important to have after-school programs. I talk about this damn economic fund that the state of Illinois has, and we're giving money to repair a pole barn at a county fair instead of giving money for after-school programs and nighttime basketball or any of the above, which gives these children in these rural areas something to do other than going home and getting into all sorts of trouble, because boredom is one of the leading causes of these children starting to take drugs and stealing prescription drugs from their parents. Jamie tells of another statistic. Do you realize if you're incarcerated on a drug offense, if you're to be released in 2 years, you will not get drug treatment. You will not go through a treatment program. So we are releasing these people into society who've not had drug rehab. Yet if you go to stay longer, you get drug treatment. And the recidivism rate, Trash is right, is astronomical. The war on drugs has failed. We need to rethink and relook at our policy. And the first one is going after and handling the problem with our children in this state.
Thank you, John. No, the Monmouth Madness is a real thing, all the boredom. So that's what we call it. We call it the Monmouth Madness.
Oh, good. I'm glad.
So, yeah.
Glad I hit on a topic then.
Oh, yeah. Anyway, so a couple weeks ago when Matthew-C-Scaro was on my show, we got in a conversation about working with the General Assembly. So he is quoted on the show, and he's been quoted in many debates. He says he's not willing to work with the General Assembly one bit. Democrats nor Republicans, in that matter. So let me ask both of you this: is that a good choice? And how would you, if you decide to not be like Scaro and try working with the General Assembly, how will you create an environment that things can get done.
Cash, can I please take this first answer?
Definitely.
I beg you.
By all means,
John.
yeah, you go first.
Following the last debate, Cash and I were informed that Matt-c-Scaro now believes that being Illinois governor is not a swearing-in ceremony. It is a coronation of a king or viceroy, where you can just surreptitiously make laws and I got Cash to laugh. And where you can just sit at your throne and surreptitiously write laws, and they get enacted, and you collect fees from the feudals, your peasants and landlords of your feudal system. Oh, yeah. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous, and it's politically naivete. And Cash and I have both said that you have to work with the legislature. It's the only way around it. There's a super majority with Democrats, a super minority with Republicans. I've told everybody for a year I'm a Tip O'Neill politician. For those of you who don't know who Tip O'Neill was, he was the Speaker of the House during the Ronald Reagan administration. He was a staunch Democrat, but he was the type of politician that said, "Wait a minute. Let's figure out what the root problem is. Let's figure out baseline what we want to solve. Do we want to solve paying less taxes? Do we want to solve, a gang crime? Let's go from there. Put your arm around your opponents, reach across the aisle, and figure out a solution. We're human beings. If we know what the problem is, we can compromise to fix that. Jon Stewart is a compromiser. I'm a salesman. I am that Tip O'Neill politician, and I think it's important that when the front runner of the entire gubernatorial race, J.B. Pritzker, tells everyone, including the media, I've asked Republicans and Democrats about Jon Stewart. I can't find anyone in this state to say a bad word about him. I think that speaks volumes to the Libertarian Party that if you elect me as your candidate, you are electing someone that already has those relationships to be able to reach across the aisle, and I will. That is the only way I can get my mandates across and my policies across, is by working with leadership, but also being steadfast in my libertarian beliefs. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Cash.
You know what? I've got a lot of respect for Matt in a variety of ways. He's a very intelligent guy. He knows libertarian philosophy very well, and but that is by far one of the most idiotic statements I've ever heard him say. And I don't say that to be rude to him, but you absolutely cannot expect that you're going to go to Springfield as a governor and pen your own legislation and pass it through both the House and the Senate with nobody else, with no compromise, with no discussion, with no conversation. That is the most unrealistic statement that one individual could make. And frankly, we're not paid to go there to dictate. We are paid by taxpayers to go there and represent the greatest majority of people. And to do so, okay, you must represent conservative interests. You must represent liberal interests. You must represent those interests while maintaining your libertarian philosophies and principles and standing behind those anytime you're making a decision. And so compromise has to be made in a variety of ways. And I already do these things. Again, I told you guys earlier in the show that I've been a political activist now for quite some time. And part of my activism requires me to speak with legislators from both sides. And right now I'm helping to push legislation for a House Bill 4113. And it's a piece of family law legislation to ensure that fathers are treated equally inside family courts. And it does require a lot of discussion on both sides because there's plenty of people who are opposed to that. And, I think that libertarians have the ideals and the principles to where most of us are pragmatic and principled enough to say, look, we're not all going to agree on everything. And to progress the state legislatively and to pass common sense legislation that benefits most of Illinois citizens, we're going to have to sit down at the table and have a discussion about it. And I think that's one of my strengths that I bring to the table is that from my 20 years of military service, I worked with men and women from all demographics, from Christian to Muslim and gay and straight, so on and so forth. But we never focused on just kind of who we are as individuals. We focus on what our mission is. And the same should be said for our politicians. In having a two-partisan duopoly in politics, that's what keeps a line in the sand and one team combating against the other team. Putting a libertarian inside the governor's office would be a huge win for the state of Illinois.
Can I get a rebuttal?
Yes,
not
can.
even a rebuttal. I'm going to add on to what his very eloquent statement was.
Go ahead.
And I'm not tooting my own horn here, but just walking my talk has been a big part of my campaign. And whether people like that or appreciate that or don't, it doesn't matter. That's as a man, that's what I, that's my biggest champion is that what I say I do. And, Cash and I have a mutual friend that works on his campaign. And I told her a couple of weeks ago electronically, I wrote her a text, when this is all done, I'm on Cash's side as far as, getting sanity back in the family courts. I don't have that issue but a friend of mine does, and an opponent of mine does that I respect. And, I proof that, I can put aside, differences in our candidacies and do what's right. And I just wanted to get that on the table that, it's, you even if you don't have a stake in something, it's important if you believe in something and somebody you respect believes in it, that you go across the aisle and help them.
Thanks,
That's
John.
what I'm trying to do.
Thank you, John. Thank you, Cash. Moving on. Let's talk about the education system here for a second, right? I think it's safe to say the Illinois public school system in general is in shambles. Is that a fair assessment, gentlemen?
Yes.
Yeah, definitely a fair statement.
So,
with the CPS at the head of the pyramid on that.
So, what are your plans to fix the education system? Go ahead, Cash.
Well, the education system ties into a number of other issues, and our education system directly ties into two other significant issues that we're facing as citizens, and that is taxes, our property taxes, as well as state pensions. And it goes without saying that whenever you've got, I think, somewhere in the neighborhood of 860 different school districts, many of which are representing only one or two schools, and you have administrators over these districts that are making six-figure salaries, and they're going to walk away with pensions that will weigh into the millions of dollars. We have really went astray as a state, and some people will see our approach or my approach as an attack on teachers because I want to shift pensions to a 401k style system to save taxpayers from the increasing burden that we're placing on current and future generations. But nothing could be further from the truth. And as a matter of fact, I'm being heavily recruited right now to be an agriculture teacher here in the state, and I'm really considering doing that, pending the outcome of this election cycle. But we also must take a responsibility to our children and everyone around us to say, the education system is not working. We are oftentimes keeping schools open that are failing, and they're failing our children. And John made a great point about Chicago public schools kind of being at the top of that pyramid of failing, and he's absolutely correct that there are a number of schools there that many people don't even recognize. They even have a great deal of school choice there, but their choices are one failing school over another failing school. And so we're asking our children to go to schools that are failing them, and we're asking taxpayers to continue to fund schools that continue to fail our children. And if they're failing them, they're most certainly failing our future generations. And that's something we have to significantly address. So what I first want to start with is consolidating and reducing the number of school districts and administrative bloat here in the state. That will begin to trim the excessive, you can't even say fat because it's just extreme bloat. And it's costing us billions. And so I would look to consolidate that. I would look to, I'm not going to go into detail right now because we'll probably bring it up again in a minute, but about 401ks. I will look to shift to 401ks as well, which will cause substantial savings to us in the immediate. And Claire's giving me the signal. I'll stop there.
And she was grabbing the rubber hose.
Yeah.
So gotta be careful.
Thank you, Cash. Go ahead, John.
You know, it's not a money issue because there's a lot of money there. He's right. It's the bloat. Average school teacher is going to put in about $140,000 over their lifetime. Is going to get out about $2 million in pension benefits. Do the back of the envelope math on that one. You can't. I find it funny. Our tax dollars go up and up, yet the math and reading scores are flatlined. That's not my opinion. That's fact. And the teacher salaries go up and up, and we're not getting results from our dollars. I think we need to dismantle completely, to the ground, the Chicago public school system. I've said it before. Matt-c-Scaro thinks it's a joke. It's not a joke to me. I want to pull administrators from around this state that know how to fiscally run a school district and measure it with test scores rising and have them run and take over the Chicago public school system. Cash, does that sound like a crazy Jon-Stewart scheme? I don't think it does.
No, I think anywhere you're looking for somebody who has proven that they can succeed.
Exactly.
You know, it doesn't matter where you put them
so
geographically.
Matt can laugh at that. I think that's a great idea. We just had David Schuller. He was from Arlington Heights, won the National Superintendent Award for Schools in America. So we've got talent here in Illinois that know what to do. And I just Googled his name, by the way. I didn't know what that was, but I saw the news story. So we've got talent here in Illinois that knows how to manage a budget, be fiscally accountable, and have our children properly educated. The Chicago public school system is this spoiled brat child that is sucking the life and the money from all of the other counties in our state. I feel, without pandering, I feel awful. Being that Cash and I live in that surrounding area of Chicago, and people south of I-80 are just looking at all of their money going to a failed school system fraught with abuse, fraud, and waste. And that's not benefiting our children. I believe in vouchers. I believe in this scholarship program which is a tax write-off. That's, changing the lives in Florida, the same program that we've just implemented here in Illinois. And a guy by the name of Dan Proft has been talking about it, and it's been wonderful. I think school choice is important, but I think most importantly, we need to have a system of schools where it's incentive-based. I mean, if your test grades are falling, you're going to make less money. You're going to be accountable. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with implementing private sector policies in the public sector, which is, if my children can't read and write on a commensurate level with other children around the country, you are going to suffer. And I'm sure the budget we will talk about pensions, and Cash was right on. It's the 800-pound gorilla in the room. Thank you.
Yeah, I want to take just 60 seconds on that if I can. And one of the other large issues that sometimes we don't bring up is the fact that, like in Chicago, where the teachers by law should be paying, I believe, 9% towards their pensions, and the Chicago public school systems and the teachers unions, what they have done is they've effectively said, well, wait, we'll pick up that tab. Well, it's not them picking up the tab, it's the taxpayers. And so now the taxpayers of Chicago are footing 7% of that 9%. And it's costing the Chicagoland area and those taxpayers somewhere to the tune of close to $200 million a year. I don't think it's unfair to ask a state employee to pick up their fair share. And that's not being done. And secondly, dollars don't necessarily equate to success. And we can look at the schools in the south and west sides of Chicago. They are in large part receiving more money per student than the surrounding collar counties from state funding. And those dollars are not equating to success.
Sure.
That's a good point.
Yeah, good point,
points from
gentlemen.
both.
Yeah, really good. So I guess, both of you gentlemen mentioned it. You can't talk about education without talking about the pension program and its endless problems. So what's the plan to fix the pension crisis? Go ahead, Cash.
Well, right now we've got somewhere close to $200 billion in unfunded pensions, and at the current rate, we're expected to hit $350 billion by 2047. And so right now we're carrying a household average of $27,000 per household in pension debt. And that is extreme. I mean, we're talking about 1,000% growth since 1987. Look, we can talk statistics all day long, but what's really important is the solution to the problem. I happen to align with Illinois Policy Institute on this one and their proposal to rectify the pension system, and that is to put a 5-year freeze on property taxes, which many people don't know that tremendous amount of property taxes goes to fund pensions, local pensions, fire and police in areas throughout the state. So our property taxes tie into the pensions. Property taxes don't go to the top 5 pension funds in the state, but they do fund a lot. So we have to address that piece and tie it into the pensions as well. I want to see a 2/3 voter referendum placed throughout the state, allow local municipalities and taxpayers to vote on whether or not that property tax raise should take effect. But moreover, we want to transition all state employees to a 401k, and part of Illinois Policy Institute's plan is to also incorporate a fixed annuity. So, for instance, the employee invests 8% into their self-managed plan, and then the employer will invest 7%. Now, that 7% can go towards the self-managed plan, or they can elect for it to go into that annuity that will be purchased every year, and it will give a Social Security-like benefit where they have a fixed portion that is coming in every month. And so it gives us a couple of options. Moreover, they estimate that by 2047, we would be 90% funded at our pensions, which is huge, as opposed to the 38% funded that we're currently sitting at for the top 5 there. And so we will take that ship that is currently sinking and bring it back afloat and put ourselves back on a safe course to rectify the pension system here in the state. There's a bunch of different ideas out there that I've researched and looked at. And the last piece to that would be to go ahead and cap the property taxes are at 2%. So I know maybe I shouldn't have combined all of those into one, but maybe that'll eliminate that question later on, since Claire Ball gave me 3 full minutes with that, I think. So thank you.
You guys are good. You guys are being good.
Go to John.
Now, Matt-c-Scaro would have went crazy. It's going to be 250 billion and not 350 by 47. Does it even matter? Cash? Yeah. I mean, is that even sustainable? Right. But I just want a difference between Matt and I. I mean, I'm not a split hairs candidate. Cash made a great point and great statements, Cash, by the way. Look, you could talk about anything else you want about the state's budget. You don't get the 5 public pension systems fixed and cured, it's all over. Mm-hmm. And when I mean it's all over, my name is jon-stewart. I'm running for governor. I'm here to tell you on Sunday, it is all over. We're talking bankruptcy. We're talking loss of pensions. We're talking police, fire, school teachers, public workers, literally going into the streets in protest. I don't want that to happen. There's a solution to that. This is still one of the greatest states in our country. We can fix this. The first thing we have to do, arguing about anything else is like a couple arguing whether they're going to have steak or chicken. I've said this before, for dinner that's going to save money when they've got a $20,000 mortgage. It's a specious argument. It doesn't matter. So first of all, for the 5 pensions, any new hires, the day I am in office, I will try and enact legislation with leadership. Any new hires, there is no more Illinois pensions. They have to go to a 401k system. And I think it should be an insurance company should be running and managing those systems. And I also think that we should have a little competition. This is something that I thought of just on my own, that we should have 3 insurance companies, investment companies managing our 5 pensions. And every year, the pensioners can pick who will be chosen to manage their prospective fund. There'd be a little competition between those insurance companies. I think that's something that would help, because God forbid we should inject competition in state government. I know that's a taboo because, it's politics in Illinois isn't broken, it's fixed. I mean that in the quotes up in the air. So that needs to be done right away. The state of Illinois implemented a Tier 1 and Tier 2 system for our public pensions, and they started to work a little bit. What did we do with that $300 million in savings? Did we shore up the pensions for these pensioners? Of course we didn't. We threw it at other other programs and other things in our state, and didn't put one dime into the public pensions. That's just criminal. That's just criminal. Asking people to sacrifice and then taking the money that we gain from that sacrifice and you put it to other bloated and fraudulent programs is absolutely criminal. And I also think that I will give a week for my state government and my administration to gather up all of the pensioners of the 5 pensions, whether it's done on closed circuit, Skype, through the internet, and I will have a come to Jesus talk with the pensioners and bringing in other administrators from pension systems around the country not from my mouth, from these other actuaries, showing them back of the envelope math that the pensions are absolutely unsustainable and they have to be renegotiated. It's just that simple.
Thank you, John.
Yeah, let me add on to that. And I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, John and I come from the same position on this. We're not, at least I'm not, saying that current and past employees would lose their pension benefits. I want your listeners to know
we want to keep those.
Absolutely. I want to honor that constitutional obligation to current and past employees while giving the option to tier 2 employees to vest into a 401k, because right now they're not vested because most of them don't have 10 years as a tier 2 employee because it was implemented January 1, 2011. So they're not yet vested. And so I want those state employees to know, look, we are not threatening your pensions at all. Those that are current or past employees, I would seek to maintain that constitutional obligation, fulfill that pension obligation for you and your families.
And another rebuttal, just to add on what he's saying, which is absolutely true. We're committed to saving these pensions. You're not going to save them by just doing the same thing. I'm telling you, it's over. So you have to listen to what we're trying to say here and renegotiate these pensions. It's in the Constitution. I've heard all these school teachers telling me, but John, it's in the Constitution. If I don't have the money to pay your pension, the constitutionality is thrown out the window. Does everyone listen to me? If I don't have the money, I cannot pay your pensions. Forget about the Constitution. It's like asking Cash to jump over the St. Louis Arch so he can get his pension. He can't do it. You won't be able to get your pension. Cash and I are here to tell everyone, yes, listen to us. Roll with us. This is the way we're going to save your pensions, or else you're not going to have one.
Right. Thank you, gentlemen. So the next question, it's a very hot-button issue, right? With the tragedy that happened in Florida. In regards to guns in general, let's talk about gun control. What do you all believe in? Should we be banning these quote unquote assault weapons?
Well,
Go ahead, Cash.
No, why don't I took the last two first. Let John have that.
Very statesmanlike of you. Thank you. I'm actually going on, running back to Chicago to go on the nationally syndicated Beyond the Beltway show with Bruce Dumont to specifically talk about this. I'm a big Second Amendment supporter. I'm the only politician in America right now that is proudly boasting that I have unregistered guns in my homes, and I refuse to get a FOID card in Illinois. I want my Second Amendment right upheld. I want to protect it, and I don't want to be on a list that I have a gun. Simple as that. The problem with the school shootings, this has happened over the past 30 years en masse. I mean, it's not one particular issue you can point to. This is an amalgam of problems. This is part psychotropic and prescription drugs that we're giving these children. It's part of a failure on administrators and police to not address issues when they when they sprout up. I hold a degree in counseling psychology. It's psychology 101, first day of class. You will have triggers, and you will see the popping up of problems in people long before it turns into something like a mass shooting. So we have to educate further administrations and law enforcement. Well, how many times were the law enforcement contacted by people regarding this last shooter? 19 times. That is a systematic failure by law enforcement. I also think that it's part of our culture, and we have to accept it and find changes and ways to change it. This is the numbing of our society. It's being numbed through movies, violence in TV shows, video games, comic books, and the internet. When a 12-year-old can get on the internet and see an Iraqi soldier's head blown off in a video, I know it's his right to see that, but that does numb our society. So we need to take steps on. I don't know what the answer of denumbing our children now is, but I know one answer is it's parenting. And parents have to play a role in what their children watch, what their children are seeing, what their children are being acclimated to. Never forget that Jon Stewart, as governor, is going to demand that parents in this state step up where they aren't stepping up. And that is part of the problem of this gun issue. Outlawing bump stocks, I find it's funny. Republicans are, don't you dare take away my guns. Don't you dare take away my guns. And then Donald Trump is going to outlaw bump stocks, which tactically don't even work. It's using a bump stock is I would rather, not use one, tactically speaking. That's another issue. But then when Donald Trump wants to outlaw bump stocks, was just a symbolic gesture that means nothing. The Republicans are like, oh yeah, fine. And I am not an NRA guy, because the NRA will do anything to keep the NRA in business. And that's not the way I look at our Second Amendment rights in this gun issue.
Thank you, John. Go ahead, Cash.
It is a very emotional issue to discuss, and we do have to consider our children's safety while also considering what men and women died for in this country, and that's to defend our constitutionally protected right. We do not derive rights from the Constitution, okay? Many people confuse that. The Constitution is to protect an inherent natural right from government interference or intrusion. And our founding fathers intended that for the purpose of protecting us and equipping us in the future generations for the ability to protect ourselves from a government gone wrong. And I fully, wholeheartedly believe in that. And we can look across the globe, and if we don't learn anything, we must learn from history that when a society was disarmed, they were controlled. And they lost every freedom and liberty that they had ever known. So first and foremost, I seek to uphold the Constitution as it is written. Secondly, and getting to the root causes of these issues, okay? The root causes of these issues, if we really take a whole look at them, John hit one piece, and that is the prescription drugs that many of these youth are on whenever they commit these crimes. But secondly is, why are they on these? Why are they on these prescription drugs? There's a number of reasons. One of the most pressing issues that I'm an activist for is that of involvement of family. We live in a society that is no longer a nuclear family society any longer, and we have to face that for what it is. But sadly, fathers have been treated as second-class citizens for the last 30 or 40 years. We have removed fathers from the home in large scales and legislated them away to just being mere visitors and ATMs to their children, resulting in, take a look at our prison statistics. If you want to address any major societal issue and find one common denominator, this is it. So children that grow up with emotional and behavioral issues, children that grow up that go on to abuse drugs and commit violent crimes, whether it's rape or gang affiliation, any other number of large-scale issues that we're really facing in this state, we're not talking about the root causes. Some of the root causes in Chicago is the fact that you've got approximately 70% of children growing up in those areas growing up in a single-parent home, in large part because of the failed war on drugs, and that their parents have been incarcerated for decades for a victimless crime. That, combined with the family court system and what they're doing, that is what is really driving this. These children have emotional and developmental disorders because they're not being reared by two parents the way that nature or God intended it. So if we get to those core issues, we'll fix the gun problem.
Can I just get a rebuttal to that?
Go ahead.
I just want to tell the Libertarian Party, you have two candidates who have the guts to look at the people of Illinois and say, start raising your kids. So hats off to you, my friend.
Well, we have to get the state out of that. I mean,
well,
you can't raise them if the state
we're
roadblocks
challenging
you.
people to keep their families together, or if anything, raise your children. Be a part of your children's lives. Thank you for saying that. Number two, I could put a gun on a kitchen table, leave it there for 100 years. It's not going to kill anybody. Guns don't kill. People with guns kill. And the only way to stop someone with a gun is another gun. It's as simple as that. I don't know why this is such a complicated issue. Let's get metal detectors in schools. Let's get armed guards in schools to protect those children. Simple as that. It doesn't take away anybody's rights. Stopping a shooter in a high school, that's not taking away somebody's rights. That's protecting children. Simple, fact-based solutions, not based on rhetoric, not based on emotions, but based on something that can truly help and save children. Simple.
Thank you, John. Thank you, Cash. So let's switch gears a little bit. Let's talk about some actual election questions, right? So instead of issues. So how will you raise the money to compete against the two political machines? Go ahead, John.
Yeah, I've said this before, that I've yet to hear this from Matt or Cash with any substantial facts, and I don't say that negatively. I'm just saying I don't know their stance. Or their program. But I have over 2,500 of some of the wealthiest people in the state of Illinois, automobile dealers, that have pledged to support my campaign. I plan on raising easily $500,000. I also have national support, national people from the national level that have promised through phone calls and texts and emails to also support my campaign. And I think that the people of Illinois see my campaign rolling and see it on level with the two other major parties. I think that will have a snowball effect, and we'll have people donating to my campaign. I'm not going to ask for $100 or $500. I'm not going to try my best to take any PAC money that goes against my issues. But I think I can do a really grassroots program of getting $5, $10, $20 from people, and I think it will resonate. And when people see a viable third-party choice other than Rauner, Pritzker, Biss, or Jeannie Ives, I think that's going to resonate, and I think they're going to join on my campaign. If that doesn't happen, again, I have literally 2,500 automobile dealers that are willing to pledge large amounts of money to my campaign. That's it. That's what I'm going to do.
Thank you, John. Go ahead, Cash.
Well, of course, mine will be on a grassroots level, and I'm realistic, but I sincerely do not expect to raise millions of dollars to be competitive on a monetary level with the likes of a J.B. Pritzker or a Bruce Rauner. But I do believe I'm entirely capable of raising substantial sums of money through a grassroots campaign in the state of Illinois, because we've got over, I believe, 50% of our state right now as independent. There are disenfranchised voters all across this state, and what it will require is reaching these independents as well as the disenfranchised Democrats and Republicans, and them just seeing a different type of candidate. I believe that they're ready and willing to commit to help to fund a campaign like that, but it is going to require getting my face and my name out there on a much larger scale. And I've had many radio shows now and small television shows here throughout the state, some news interviews. And as a matter of fact, tonight I'm going to be on AM 560 with Sean Thompson out of Chicago. And those concerted and continued efforts are going to continue to reach more and more people. And as more people gain awareness about my campaign, who I am and what I'm running on, I fully intend that I will be raising enough money that I can make a substantial difference in this campaign cycle against a Republican or a Democrat, whether or not they're billionaires or millionaires.
Thank you, Cash. So, if you don't get the nomination at the convention, will you support the person who does? Go ahead, Cash.
Absolutely. Yeah. You know what? I've been saying this early on. In my amateur hour there, as John might describe it, my first, I think I was in Fox Valley, where I said, you know what, if I don't get the nomination, I'm just going to run as an independent.
I didn't even know you said that.
I did. I did say that. And I had to go back and retract that statement because I really didn't understand the ballot access laws well enough. And once I got a little bit better educated by some intelligent people here in the party on ballot access and the fact that I was going to have to get somewhere in the neighborhood of 50,000 signatures, number one, I realized, yeah, that's not a viable option. But more importantly, what I found through my time of campaigning and as I grew here within the party, what I found is that much like the military, this is a team effort. And as ambitious as it may sound for somebody to say, you know what, I'm going to run as an independent, it's also very naive to say that. And I enjoy working on a team level. I like having a team. And the Libertarian Party here, I believe, has a great team of people all across this state. I mean, from Lake County all the way down to the bottom of the state and down here where you guys are at. Look, it's going to require every single one of us to get the job done. And I'm committed to this team. I'm committed to this fight. And I'm pretty certain that I've made that abundantly clear through all of the things that I've done, supporting Claire Ball and Steve Duttner and the down ticket. If Jon Stewart gets a nomination or Matt-C-Scaro gets a nomination, you know what? I've got a hard pill to swallow, and I have to collect 1,501 signatures for one of these guys on my own two legs. Those aren't going to be paid for. I'm going to collect them. And but you know what? I'm fully committed. So if Jon or Matt were to get the nod, then you know what? I'm going to have my humility and grace and say congratulations. And on March 4th, I'm going to get to work collecting those 1,501 petition signatures.
Thank you, Cash.
I said it from day one. Say it, a year later. I absolutely will support my two other opponents if they win. It's as simple as that. I'm even more excited about supporting the down ticket. I have said this. I've gone on record, and I will say this on record now. I think after 25 years of in politics, that this is the greatest, youngest group of candidates that we have of any party in Illinois. I am excited to after March 3rd to go and work for people like to the left of me, Claire Ball, John Matthew, Christopher Howick, Mike Lehaney, Sanj if he becomes our lieutenant governor, Steve Duttner, Bennett Morris. I'm sorry. I've mentioned these names because they excite me. I look at this young group of talent. They're nice people. They're principled. They're honest. They have integrity. That's what you need if you want to grow this party. So I am really excited to work for them as either the gubernatorial candidate or not. And I've had my difference with Matt, especially lately, but I've seen Cash grow as a candidate. I'd be proud to stand in front of a Walgreens and collect signatures for him. Absolutely, I have no problem with him representing my party as the gubernatorial candidate.
Thank you, gentlemen. We have time for one more election question, and then we will do closing remarks. So, since this is a college, right? How will you court the millennial vote? Go ahead, Cash. You know
what? Courting the millennials is a very important piece of my campaign, and I think my own personal opinion that as millennials really get to know who Kash-Jackson is and what he stands for, and even maybe more importantly what he's done in the past, they're going to see that I'm a candidate that they can get behind, because in many respects I believe a lot of the same things that millennials do. I'm not that far of an age difference from millennials. I'm 39 years old. I'm getting ready to go over the hill here pretty soon this year. But you know what? I've been a staunch activist. I've been out to Standing Rock, North Dakota, and there with the Standing Rock Sioux tribe, and built a substantial relationship and support system from doing so. And young men and women are, I think they're way more passionate and ingrained in politics in this day and age than what I ever was at 18, 19, 20, 25 years old. The political climate back then didn't concern me because I was deploying with the military. But frankly, I see so many bright men and women that are just really getting involved. And I think that they're looking for something that resonates with them. And, you know what? I've got an uncanny ability to relate with people from different demographics, and especially with younger people. And maybe that could be attributed to the fact that I was a drill instructor, and I had a substantial amount of time around probably more teenagers than I want to admit. But I relate to them. You know what? I get where many of them come from, because they come from a lot of them very difficult upbringings and settings, and I can really relate to that from my own childhood and upbringing. And man, they just want to be involved, and they want to fight, and they want to change, and they just want a little direction to go with that. And I think that I can provide that direction with the experiences that I have.
Thank you, Cash.
On the campaign trail, I've talked to two primarily demographic groups: senior citizens and millennials. Here's what I found about millennials. And by the way, I have two of them in my house. my two daughters, who I've made public, are going over to Camp Kash-Jackson when this is all over. It's going to straighten them out.
Yeah, got them.
And I've got a stepson who's a millennial. Look, millennials want to matter. They want a job. They want a life that has purpose. They want to feel that they can contribute. They also want They don't want to be spoken to for 5 hours. They are the 30-second soundbite generation. You have to recognize that as a business person and as a politician. I'm a former pro wrestler, I'm a car dealer, and I'm a politician. I know about the 30-second soundbite. So I've seen myself communicate effectively with them because I know what they want and I don't disagree with what they want. My whole life has been spent about trying to find my purpose, my place in society, and trying to make a difference. I ran a bunch of kamikaze campaigns where I knew I wasn't going to win, but I felt I was making a difference because, again, I was trying to find purpose and make a difference. And that are the two greatest challenges that we have with understanding millennials. And they're not wrong on that. I think they're going to end up being one of the greatest generations because they have the power of knowledge and technology and history on their side. And if we can help them, if we can be the wind under their wings, metaphorically speaking, oh my God, I think the millennials are going to take this generation and this planet to new heights that we've never seen before. But you got to give them a reason to do it. You got to show them a goal and direction. You got to make sure that they have a purpose and that they're making a difference. And I think that's what I've been effective in communicating that with them, that I will stand with them and work with them and give them direction and give them a purpose and a goal and a mission for our state and for their future.
Thank you, John. So let's wrap this up. This has been a phenomenal time, but let's give some closing remarks first.
If I could jump in real quick, I just want to say thank you, gentlemen, for being so respectful. You made my job very easy, keeping time.
I'll try harder next
She still
time.
has her hand on the rubber hose. I just want everybody at home to know that. She comes off like Miss Nice, but, she's tough.
Anyway, so let's do some closing remarks. So we'll start with John this time.
I know I've said this 3 times now. This is my last debate. But this is literally my last primary debate ever. And that's kind of sad because I'm an athlete and I don't like finality. That scares me to some degree. But I know that my time in politics has come and it's hopefully I will have 4 more years of it and maybe another 4 years. I'm not looking, and I've said this publicly because it was asked to me twice by legitimate reporters. I'm not doing this to run someday for the presidency. It's an amazing question, but that's not in my wheelhouse. So this is my last primary debate. And I'm proud of the campaign that I've run for a year. I'm proud of my association since 2011 with the Libertarian Party. I'm proud to finally come from my journey from Reagan to Rothbard, where I realized that every day, almost every breath, I'm living in, to some degree, the Libertarian platform and the Libertarian lifestyle. And it's important to me because it's never going to go away. I'm going to be with that for the rest of my life. I'm proud that I've brought forth sensible solutions to this state with keeping in mind that my tenure as governor will be all about the people. Because an effective politician doesn't go to 4th of July parades. He doesn't go to picnics and bake sales. An effective, successful politician knows that it's about changing people's lives with your legislation. That's it. That's all we're trying to do here. And for 25 years, that's all I've tried to do for the people of this great state. And for all the people out there in Illinois that are listening, that have supported me, endorsed me, or voted for me for the past 25 years, I'm getting choked up here, so I don't want to make Matt-c-Scaro laugh. But it's been a humbling experience. It's been a great experience. And when I see people like Cash that as my opponent, you can't help but realize that the American dream is still alive. And always remember, everyone, regardless of who you vote for, this is the greatest state in the country. We are a couple of policies away from making this the shining city back on the hill. And I stand with Larry Sharp back to back, arm in arm, as one of the national leaders of this party, because of my media attention, that I will do all I can to continue to grow this party in the libertarian mindset of the 80-20 rule, We can disagree on some things, but as long as we agree on minimum government and maximum freedom, and always keeping in mind the people that we serve, I think this is going to be one of the greatest movements in politics. And I'm proud to be a libertarian. Cash, I'm proud to be your opponent for a year. And God bless each and every one that's listening to this message. And I thank you for your time, and I thank you for allowing me to come here and listen to me.
Thank you, sir.
And I have to leave. I'm sorry.
Yep.
That's okay.
Yep. Good luck on Brewster.
Thank you so much.
Yep.
Thank
I will
you.
see you
Okay.
later. Thank you.
Cash.
Yep. So, Cash.
Got the studio to myself.
You got the studio to yourself.
All right, now I can really talk all the dirt.
Yep. Yep. I guess for clarification, as John mentioned earlier, he ran out here and really had the hustle. He's had the hustle because he's got to be back in the city for the nationally syndicated program. So
Just about 3.5 hours.
it's about 3.5 hours. He's going to cut it close, but I
Right.
sure appreciate, I really do,
Absolutely.
him coming out. So anyway, not to steal your thunder, Cash.
No, you're okay. You're
But
okay. It's your
go
show.
ahead. Closing remarks.
You know what? We are really poised, not only as a party but as a state, to make a statement across the United States that no longer will we allow ourselves to be duped into believing that because somebody has deep pockets or a political background or connection, that they are somehow more suitable than your average carpenter or union worker or teacher. We have not been represented truly in the governor's office and in large part in our General Assembly by men and women who just come from a common background of hardworking men and women. And I have no doubt that this is the election cycle where we will make a statement in this state and across the nation that we're no longer going to elect somebody simply because of the size of their bank account or to the extent of their political connections. We're going to elect somebody because they truly represent what it is to be an American. And I tout my military service a great deal. And to some, maybe I should not do that, but I believe that I should. And not to say that we should worship those in the military. We shouldn't. We are human beings, and we have our faults the same as any other group of people. But I think that I've shown my level of commitment to my country by doing 20 years in the military. And I've learned a tremendous amount through the mistakes that I've made and the growth that I've had and the leadership bestowed upon me by, there's no way I could total up the amount of years of leadership that I had to influence me over 20 years of military service. And it really left upon me a much broader understanding of people. And no matter if you live in a third world country or if you live in Mexico or Canada or anywhere, we all have the same commonalities that we just want to live and thrive. We don't want to just survive day in and day out. And that's what Illinois' the General Assembly and our legislators have left us to do, is just enough to survive upon. It's time we remove the boot from our throat, and we allowed Illinois citizens to get up on their own 2 feet and to equip them with the tools to succeed and prosper in this day and age. But the only one who's capable of doing that is a man or a woman who comes from that type of background and has that type of understanding. I believe that I'm the best candidate. I'm not going to say I'm the only, but I'm the best candidate of the three in the Libertarian Party to represent the broadest group of people in this state. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you so much, Cash. So, during that last bit, my good friend Brian Scott Lambert.
Someone left the door open.
Someone left the door open, and now Brian wants to talk. Brian, who are you?
Apparently, I'm your good friend.
You're my good friend.
I wasn't expecting that. How you doing, Brody?
Not bad. Thanks for stumbling in. Did you enjoy the debate?
Yeah, the few minutes I heard of it, I was kind of wandering around the school, and I keep forgetting that the floors are creaky everywhere, and this was an older building. So I come in here, I'm like, I'm going to sneak into the room. I'm like, oh, it's going to pick up everything on these mics.
Hey, real quick, thank you, Cash-Jackson, for driving out 4 hours.
Oh, yeah. I was going to thank everyone at the end, but that's fine. That's fine. Brian, what do you got for me, Brian?
I want to talk about
and
the
who
convention.
are you, other than my good friend?
That's all that matters, really, is I'm Brody's good friend. My name is Brian Lambert. I'm with the Libertarian Party of Illinois. I've held a lot of different titles here and there, doing all sorts of things. But proudly, and most importantly, I am the chair of the DuPage Libertarians. And I'm also married to the gorgeous blonde woman sitting next to me, Claire Ball, who's running for Illinois comptroller on the Libertarian ticket. And I want to talk a little bit about the convention. We have a convention coming up, and if you don't know about it, it's coming up this coming weekend. It'll be Friday, March 2nd, Saturday, March 3rd. It's going to be at the Park Regency Hotel in Bloomington. Starts Friday night. All the action kicks off around 5, 6 o'clock, and Friday night is free. It's open to the public. Anybody can come. They can hang out. If you want to purchase a ticket, that includes everything on Saturday. And what's going on Saturday? In the morning, we've got some workshops that are taking place. We're going to have some guest speakers. There's lunch. There's dinner. There's going to be all sorts of events going on. And in the middle of the day, we will have the business meeting, which is also open to the public and any members who want to come out and vote. Everything from voting for our candidates to maybe proposed bylaws changes. This is how you help shape the Libertarian Party of Illinois. If you want to get involved, you have to come out and be part of the process. So lpillinois.org is the website where you can go and get all the details on this. Nick Sarwark, the LNC chair, will be there. He will be the keynote speaker on Saturday night during dinner. We'll be giving out awards afterwards. We're going to hear from some other people. Kent McMillan will be stopping by and saying hello. I think it's worth it for everyone to who can make it out to this to attend.
I know I'm excited about Libertarian Jeopardy.
That'll be Friday night. I'll be hosting Libertarian Jeopardy. It'll be loud and offensive and nothing. Yeah.
So fun.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you, Brian, for wandering on in. This has been Wall to Wall Politics. I would like to thank, everyone really for making this, this possible. It's not just this singular debate, right? I've been building up for this for quite some time, since, back when Wall to Wall Politics, 3 seasons ago, was on a stupid Tuesday afternoon that no one was able to tune in. I've been building up, interviewing Kash-Jackson, Jon-Stewart, Scaro, the lieutenant governor candidates, the lovely Claire Ball, and many, many more. And, I've sure appreciated everyone's hard work to make this debate possible. So thank you, Cash, for driving out and coming on today. Thank you, John. He's here in spirit, I guess.
Yeah.
And once again, thank you, Claire.
Thank you.
This has been Wall to Wall Politics. I'm your host, Brody Anderson. Until next time, be nice to one another, and I will see you on the airwaves.